this so we have this for you to review back when you have more time to digest the details. A lot of content for both presentations. I'm glad we added to that. By the way, they're the smarter ones in the group. I'm the one that's kind of bringing up the tail end of this. But I also want to make sure that these conversations, when we get together like this is more than networking. There's actually tangible things going on with you that work. And all too often, we get into topics that is exposure related, but sometimes we still kind of skip on the surface. We don't let it sink down to something meaningful. For everybody at this hotel, for any questions, I'm talking about digital marketing, so there's no confusion. Actually, all I do is hospitality. Born and raised, used to be a chef, owned restaurants, ran hotels, been in your chair, ran in every department, been in every department from property level, every brand, independent, corporate level. So I really empathize with sitting and listening to what I want to know from what somebody who supposedly knows something about what I want to know tells me about. And everybody knows I went around and try to ask, make sure to bring into the conversation questions that you may have, so you walk away with something you want about today's conversation. I only have 5 slides, and on 2 of them you can't even read, and the other 2 are just links. So this is a dialogue. This is a dialogue about the value proposition of what we are right now. And I'm going to speak more specifically to hoteliers, but restaurateurs have the same issue. But right now, what season are we in right now? Budget season. We're the only dang industry that has one. Everyone else just does budgets. We have an actual season for this. And it goes a little bit like this, and tell me if I'm wrong. We all start gathering and dusting off all the junk we did this past year to figure out what we costed on, what we spend on, what we didn't do right, make sure we spend what we still have, and keep what we didn't get spent, and try to make numbers work that didn't work before. Duck underneath those budget conversations when variances go above 0.4%, and we try to make sure that we try to allocate ourselves when we approach a conversation with 3 different levels. The budget we'd love to have, the budget we're probably going to have, and the budget we hope we don't have to settle for. And we go into those conversations with politics and bullets to decide how we're going to go over and argue the points that we have for the money that we need to spend for what we want to get what we have. I know that went fast. But the idea is this. Budgets are a fundamental discussion of who has bigger bullets. Who can make their point better than the other person counter to your point? You're talking to somebody that doesn't want to spend the money, and you're trying to spend the money to make them the money that they say that you're supposed to make for them. Seems a little backwards, okay? I have 2 basic tools I want you to have a link to. The discussions don't go from top discussion to bottom discussion, but I want to make you feel uncomfortable first. Please raise your hand if you know what your direct channel is. Just direct channel. What's your direct channel? Anybody, raise your hand. Not a good sign. No, just direct channel. I'll give you making it simple. What is direct channel? What is your direct channel contribution to your hotel, your restaurant, your hospitality business? What is it? No. Nice guess. It's your source of business, I'll tell you that. I mean, the guest is everything. Your direct channel, and to be simplistic as possible, is your website. When I say direct channel, you look at your OTAs. What are OTAs? Online travel agencies. You're paying commission for their business that they're sending to you. You have group business. You have all these channels of business that drive business to your top line revenue. Top line revenue is gross revenue that comes into your hotel. I'm going to speak right to hotels at this point. So all these channels feed into your top line revenue. Direct channel, for the purpose of our discussion today, is your online, website-driven business. The next question I would ask is, what is that percentage? How much of your website drives your top line revenue? You got to know the number. You can't have a Pinto win NASCAR. No matter how cute it looks, if it ain't big enough to run the race, it can't finish and win. If you're wanting all this revenue from your website, and it isn't contributing but fractions amount of monies, and your OTAs are really big, no matter how good you get at your website, it'll never generate enough money to make a difference. So you have to understand how much is contributing first to determine how much you should be spending on it. And it's weird for me to say this, but sometimes it's just not worth it. Not unless you really dedicate yourself to expanding that channel of value, okay? So I have a calculator that you're not going to read. Oh, wait a minute, I got to get this cute. Does anybody have a doppelganger? I have a doppelganger. This one too. Come on, here we go. Come on. Let's keep going. Okay. This is Loren Gray. I piss off a lot of adolescent guys. Because Loren Gray is 16 years old. She has 3 million Instagram followers. And I'm older than Loren, so when Instagram came on, I'm Lauren Gregg. When Twitter came on, I'm Lauren Gregg. They all sign up for Lauren Gregg. They get me. And so, yeah. So that's me. Okay, sorry. I always forget. I threw that in for something fun to tell you. This is not readable by anybody but my phone. This is a calculator that I'm going to give you a link to that's on the site. I'm not here to self-promote, it just happens to be sitting on the site. That's going to ask you questions about your hotel. Hotel, for you to calculate what it is you're first looking at from industry averages of what you should be in which category. How much should you be spending for PPC? How much should you be spending for your organic website? How much for emails? How much for all this stuff? What it'll ask you is things like your room numbers, your annual ADR, which you know is very generic because every month is different, okay? But just to give you a broad sense of some of the general segmentations, like going through that budget season process, okay? First, it's dust off all the old information, let's get back up to speed where we spend all our money. Then it's about what is it that we need to fix, feature, change, what have you. Then we start getting into the dialogue, what we're told we're generating from revenue. We don't get, revenue managers go and talk to the ownerships, or ownerships dictate down. Raise a hand for anybody in revenue management that got told what their revenue is. Yeah, it's not what you tell them you think you should be doing based on historicals, it's they tell you what they need you to make. In today's workshop, we're going to tell you how to work with marketing to actually make that number. Because you don't have the tools complete to do this. You've been told to dictate, you're the ones that create the parameters, but you don't have the methodology to get there. So you need the collaboration between the departments. That's what we're going to do this afternoon's workshop. So anyway, so this will go over and you put all this information in. It'll ask you questions about what percentage of your gross revenues are expected to go to marketing and so forth. It's about 10 questions. It'll then break down the industry averages of how much you should allocate towards different categories associated with your direct channel. How much you should spend on your email campaigns, how much you should spend on your website. Now remember, branded hotels have different perspectives. But for the independent hotels, this is a great tool for them, especially. Now, to translate this to restaurants, how many of those here today run the restaurants or in the food and beverage side of this? Okay. Do you do this based on head count per plate cost and transitions of turns per meal segment? Do you base that on your budgets? Is that how you first create revenues? Okay. On each of restaurants, we used to go over and see how many turns, first off, total seating capacity. It's much like hotels, really, and honestly is. How much is total capacity, how much are you actually turning a building, how much is per head on each of those. You multiply that out, you figure out how much that total gross revenue is, you figure out your allocated cost percentage of payroll, percentage of food cost, liquor cost, blah, 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 overhead, down, and then you determine net revenue, and that's percentage towards marketing. That's the same methodology used in hotels. So this calculator will work, actually I have one in the works that will be for restaurants, so I'll send you the link on the same page, so I'll send you the link on this one. So you can do this for restaurants as well. Basically, we'll calculate what your total seat capacity, what your average per head plate, lunch, dinner, your meal periods are. Then it'll multiply that up, give you a gross revenue, tell you what you break down in anticipation. So it's a math problem is what it really boils down to. So this calculator will give you some general sense and it'll also give you a shortfall as to what you're probably not going to make in revenue based on just averages. It's going to show you where you might be lacking. It is not to make a budget, it's a simulator. It's to give you a stick in the sand that says, how do I compare to what industry-wise most companies, most hotels are doing? And from there, you start measuring yourself for or against based on your localized circumstances. Okay? That link is that. Okay? Not to worry, we'll go back to this. But that, just go there, play with it, put in different numbers, gives you a chance to kind of go highs, lows, in the middles, what kind of looks, what doesn't look, whatever's weird, whatever. It gives you a place to play around and see what the averages are. We'll come back to this. This is more fun and more simplistic, but hard to make. This is where you're going to have to know your direct channel contribution. But here's where we start. You look at your total revenue. You know, as I said before, usually the revenue numbers are handed down to you on 2 tablets with somebody with a burning bush behind them, okay? And they say, these are the revenue numbers that you must hit. They usually have it segmented by months. And after that, they'll break it down. But let's just take it to one level below. They give you your total gross revenue expectations by month. And the next segmentation is what? How do they divide up that gross initial revenue for hotels? Transient, group. Just, you know, this is your transient, this is your group. It gets finited from there. I mean, you get into your different segmentations for all that, but that's your first division. But this calculator is really helpful. We're just going to take the transient. And the reason for that is the marketing strategy associated with group sales is completely different than that associated with transient sales. So we're just going to take transient for your direct channel. So at the very top, we're going to take gross revenues. Which, by the way, yours is cut off. The screen. Yeah, anyway. The mysterious part above the TV is where you put your gross revenues in. Below that would be your transient. We take the transient number by month, say January's good, we're going to have to make $200,000 in transient business. Now this is where those numbers I was asking earlier come in very important. What is your direct channel contribution? Now you get to play with variables, okay? You say, well, currently it's 15%. I'd like to see it at 18, maybe it's only 12, whatever. You can put variables in, but for this point of it, we're going to just pick one and say it's 15%. Okay, that's going to give me a number that says my direct channel has to contribute 15% of $100,000. So that's $15,000. Okay. What produces that in your direct channel? Now, these are examples of, and these are not inclusive of, but pretty much fundamentally it's your pay-per-click campaigns, your paid campaigns online, your organic campaigns online, which is what does your website produce by being discovered as well as it does. Okay? Your paid social, as to what you do for campaigns on your social platforms that drive converted business, your organic social, and then whatever other categorizations you want to do, retargeting social. If you do want to throw in some other ancillary things that you have control over budgeting, like meta search or what have you, put them in. You then have to go into your historical. This is where your marketing managers and so forth, your digital marketing people who handle this for you, will tell you these numbers. They say, well, your PPC is 70% of what you're producing online. Okay, for January. Just take January. And the rest of them are a mixture of different percentages. They come up to a total of 100%. Then they tell you, well, how much money did I make off of that? If I spend $100 on PPC in January last year, and you said that it would produce 7% of my business, how much did I make off of that $100? And they said, well, it was a 7-to-1 return. Oh, so I only made 7,000. Okay, cool. That's fine. All right, and you put that into the math. What it then produces is it tells you the revenue that PPC should generate for that forecast that was handed to you for January at a 10% direct channel contribution for just transient, 7% of that PPC at $15,000 is a 7-1 return. It tells you how much money down to the penny you need to spend to make that revenue. So what happens in the budget conversation is it goes from well, how much money can you give us on marketing this year? Well, you know, we spent $10,000 last year and we produced such and such. It's all conversation. Here you have numbers. Here you get to say, if you're telling me I have to produce $100,000 in transient business, and I have 10% obligation as direct channel, then I have to spend $700 in January to produce the historical contribution we gave you so that we hit that revenue. It turns from an arbitrary conversation to a factual math number. Oh, I can't give you that. Well, then you're not going to get the revenue. Now, there's 3 modifiers to this. Increase the conversion value, increase the direct channel contribution, or decrease the cost. Those are things that you work on going forward, but you can only refer to the data that you have based on the performance that you have been given. So for when you're talking about budgets, you define it by what you have done historically with what you can do in the future based on what their expectation of revenue is. So this calculator, that one right there, is the one that will go over and help you with that process. That's going to require a little bit more research for you because you're going to have to go dig into and get some more of those additional numbers. Your direct marketing, your marketing person, or revenue management people will have a lot of those numbers. But taking those numbers and putting it in brings you into the budget conversation very factual. Because at that point you're putting at the number specifically rather than arbitrarily. You know, everybody else was 15 minutes. They were 15 minutes. I timed them. We're up on this. 14 minutes.
I spend my life cutting Lauren off.
She does, but it's all good.
Sorry, I just want to allow some time for people to actually ask some questions. There has been some fantastic information that's been shared today. Just sort of a quick recap. The Google zero-click thing is huge. Like, it's going to have a big impact. Right now, we measure a lot of stuff by how many visitors we get to our website. That data is not going to be so valid anymore. It's going to cause some trouble I think it's a good thing, whatever. It is a good thing for users that they don't have to click through, but it is still going to be a little bit alarming. I frankly am astounded at the 18% increase that you shared just by paying attention to your GMV. I'm astounded by that. That's like low-hanging fruit. Like immediately go back, I hope today, and start paying attention to that. I know that I personally am going to. These two calculators that Lauren shared with you will change your life. They prevent you from lying to yourself a little bit. I played with both of them. I take it back. Really, I played with the first one. I can't wait to play with this one. But it really forces you to say, all right, this is how much revenue I need. I'm going to have to spend this much if I want this much revenue. So, fantastic resources. I have some questions prepared for them, but before I do that, does anybody here have any questions that they would like to ask any of our panelists about the stuff that they shared? Yes?
My question is for Tate, up at the front there. You mentioned questions and answers, the Q&A segment on GMB. My question is twofold. Can you ask yourself questions as a business entity and answer them if you're finding them frequently coming up in reviews? Or would you recommend going in as an independent user, like a traveler, and asking those questions to your Google My Business?
Yeah, good question. You all may have opinions as well. There is an FAQ portion of GMB as well, so I think taking advantage of that. I'm all about kind of the authentic thing, so I'm trying not to game the system too much, so you could go in and ask those questions, but I think, responding to the questions you are getting, but then, Tammy shared some great resources to find out what are people asking, so looking for other ways to address those questions or providing content within your profile for some of those most common questions, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to game the system, like go use Answer the Public and then put 500 questions on your GMB profile. But going in and if there's 2 or 3 or common questions, I think is fine. And we've been doing some of that and then answering questions for clients as well, because it's that engagement that Google likes to see. But like I said, also some of the FAQ stuff and other things involved in the profile.
Yes.
A question about the GMB.
You stand and yell.
Okay, I understand. With the GMB profile, does that encompass all of Google's platforms, like YouTube as well? Like when you say answer all the comments and reviews, is it just on Google reviews, or is it other platforms like YouTube, or just?
I would say be active on all of them, and I'm not actively in GMB myself every day. I oversee some others that do, so I apologize if I don't have all the answers, but specifically in the search for those GMB questions that show, in the search results, that profile, but for sure being active across, all of them and answering questions wherever they may be coming in through YouTube. I don't know if that answers your question. One of the things the focus on GMB is great, and it's wonderful because we know that we use Google Local more for than just directions. I mean, we use it for everything. We use it for hours of operation, business menus, whatever it is. It turns into a gateway of communication. Once we've identified the business, we kind of go through the profile. And it even offers uncontrollable data, which is things, points of interest around the hotel itself. You haven't noticed that you're ranked. Your hotel has to be closest to things around you. And that's done by Google and their autonomous functionalities. It's not something that you actually work in. I would also not to say, not to the caveat of any consumer sentiment feedback is important and a missed opportunity. When somebody goes up and takes time to go into your Facebook page to say how amazing an experience they had in your hotel, your restaurant, that's a golden opportunity to reward, incentivize, and create an advocacy. And you should never miss those chances. And that just goes into pretty much the discussion.
I think Lauren's spot on. I think one other thing to add there when you were talking about like menus and all the other things that are part of the GMB profile. And you look down at the bottom of that page on the right-hand side, and you say people also searched for. That's what Google thinks your competitors are, right? And hotels use this so often, and even I see restaurants and other businesses, because we have in our mind, again, hotel bias, our comp set from our star reports. That's not always what Google thinks our competitors are. So you should be looking very closely at people also search for what's coming up, because that's who Google thinks is your closest match.
Any other questions? Yes.
With more and more people, businesses using Google, I'm also finding that a lot of businesses are utilizing their LinkedIn connections. Does Google pull that information from LinkedIn when it's doing your Google business? And then what are your thoughts when it comes to companies telling all their employees, hey, we're sending out a marketing campaign, or they'll know we want everyone to like it and share it. So then your whole feed just starts filling up with the same information being shared by everybody.
Any volunteers for that?
So a bit separate. Google obviously is looking at public information, so if they can call the information on LinkedIn, that can play a role in some of it. But it doesn't tie back to the Google My Business listing per se. I know I'm laughing because we do a lot of that. Like our company posts a webinar and everyone share that. We try and get a little creative, so it's not just 20, 30, 50, 500 people sharing the exact same word. Like if you noticed, even with some of the content around this event, we tweaked the title, the headlines and stuff. The idea is, yes, you're going to see it 500 times because you're connected to all those employees you work with, but those employees you work with on LinkedIn probably have a lot of different connections out there, so you're amplifying that message and getting more awareness about whatever it might be, right? Whether it's a press release about something great you guys did, or it's a conference or event. So I think there's value in continuing to push people to share content on LinkedIn, but it's very different than Google. That's my opinion.
Just add one to Microsoft. Microsoft owns LinkedIn, and so you're going to see more like SlideShare and so forth as a content publicity thing, and you're going to see it in Google because after all, you're dealing with walled gardens, Facebook included, and so some of the content to your point, but the public value proposition of where it's been shared is the real criteria to what you're seeing, whether it's inclusive or going into other platforms. And so if you want it to be elsewhere, then you have to provide it elsewhere.
I just have to make one other comment, well, two other comments on LinkedIn. First of all, I've done a lot of research in your headline or your title on your personal LinkedIn profile. It's very searchable. Like, you should put something very unique about your product that people, in fact, are searching, and it shows up top on Google all the time. It's really very powerful. But second, and really, I guess this has to do with the question that I had was how to improve your Google quality score. And the whole concept behind how Google is shifting in terms of authentic and credible and authoritative. And so, do you have any advice on that? What?
I'm like, I get to go first again. Well, I'm laughing because I'm like, quality score is totally around paid, and we spent so little time talking about paid today, but that's okay. I think it's important. If it's only that easy, right? I'm gonna wiggle my nose and my quality score is gonna improve. So just, if you guys don't know what Holly's talking about with quality score, so in Google Ads, when you go in and you do any kind of pay-per-click advertising, Google, it's not just as simple as, hey, if I'm willing to bid $1 to be #1 for, hotel management company in California, and Lorens willing to bid $2 for a hotel management company in California, and Tate's willing to bid $3 for a hotel management company in California. It's not always that simple that Tate's #1 because he's willing to spend more. That is a factor, but it's not the only factor. It's things like, does your ad, the title, and the copy match the information that's on your website? It's the same reason why I never recommend, I almost never recommend, never say never, bidding on your competitors, because you can't use their name in your ad copy. You can't use their name on your website. Your quality score is going to be horrible, and you're going to have to spend a ton of money to try and convince a consumer that really wanted your competitor anyway to come to you. It's almost never worth it. But from a quality score perspective, it's really about just making sure that the relevancy of information that you have in your ads matches the content and information where you're sending them to the website. I'm oversimplifying it, but that's one of the things I think.
No, definitely agree in that. I don't know if you're kind of talking about the organic side and potentially what like Moz calls domain authority and things like that. How do you gaining favor? I think exactly what you said of the authenticity is more a factor than it's ever been today in Google. The machines, the robots are understanding how to, figure out what's good. Like Tammy said, are you actually answering what people are looking for? Google's looking at that. It's not just, are the right keywords there, or, is the bounce rate, or et cetera, et cetera. It's, are you answering, are they, from all their indicators, are they perceiving, you're giving the user what they want? And so I know the hardcore SEO optimizers, disagree with, and I'm not downplaying the tech side. It's all very important, the schema. Everything needs to be right. Google needs to know what they're looking at. But I would say beyond that today, focus on the user as I talked about and what they're wanting. I've used the example, if you think of a lot of like influencer blogs or blogs you may follow, there's a good chance they don't have their technical SEO. The quality's not super high. They don't know that side of the world. They just write articles, yet they tend to outrank a lot of the people who spend tons of time and money trying to make their sites perfect. And in my opinion, it's because they're answering and giving people what they want in kind of that authentic way. I know we hear that word a lot, but again, it's more what are people actually using for, giving them that information, how they want it, answering their questions, etc. And then making sure all of the technical side is accurate as it can be as well. Don't get lost on the technicalities. Remember this, one of the sort of things that most of us do in this industry is go over and evaluate what you don't do, and then try to fill that gap. And a lot of what you don't do is go to your product and your property and see how you show up for what you show up for, and what you should show up for. One of the things you hit on was the zero click and so forth of what Google is answering for questions. When was the last time you tried to be a guest at your own hotel or at your own restaurant? What are you known for? What do you show up for? And it's nerve-wracking when you look and these little answer boxes pop up and it's everybody but you. Best barbecue or best driving directions from the airport, best way to get to such and such or closest to such and such. Things that you are proud of that you don't show up for is the authority of that answer. The first and foremost thing you need to do is evaluate where you are and online is in the presence. Learn it from the guest perspective, always centric to guest, and become the authority of that. If you need to have directions about how to get to the airport to you, be the authority that answers that question. Don't let some other two-time website that just decided to put some content on there show up for you. Because then they're going to be the authority, they're not going to come to you, and they have selling your product.
So I'm very sad, but we're actually out of time. Like, could you not go on for hours and hours and listen? Or is it just me? Thank you so very much to all three of our panelists here. Thank you I will send the slides out. I send out the survey tomorrow. If you fill out the survey, I'll give you a copy of the slides. If you don't fill out the survey, no slides for you. Finally, we should get a better result. Lori, back to you.